So I had an unusual childhood growing up. And it was unusual because our family holidays used to consist of, going to places that were quite remote and doing some things that were quite strange, like sea kayaking in Mongolia or skiing in Turkey. But that's not the only reason why my childhood was unusual. I was very fortunate to have grown up in a family who encouraged me to do what I wanted, regardless of my gender. And what I wanted to do was adventure. To give you a bit of context, my father was the first Indian to ski to both the North and the South Pole. And I had grown up hearing about all of his adventures and his expeditions. And somewhere along the line, I decided that this is something I want to do as well. So the first major expedition I went with him was to Greenland. It was a sea kayaking expedition along the coast of Greenland. A 14-day expedition. I was 14 at the time. And it was an absolutely incredible experience. After this expedition, I remember we had a chance to see the Greenland Icecap. And I remember making an offhand comment to Dad. I said, it would be so cool to come back here one day. The problem is, with a dad like mine, you can't really make offhand comments. 3 years later, we found ourselves back in Greenland, this time for an intense cross-country skiing expedition, where we would be skiing 550 kilometers across the Greenland Icecap from the west to the east coast. So this expedition, I was 17 at that time, and I don't think I had any idea what I was signing myself up for. Honestly, when it comes to expeditions like this, you really don't know what you're going to face. We faced temperatures up to minus 40 degrees Celsius and storms with wind speeds which went up to 35 kilometers per hour. And it was scary, but it was also magical. There's something incredible about challenging yourself to your limit and then a little bit more. And also being outdoors, being in these remote places where there's no humans for miles and miles and miles. It's something that's, beyond undescribable. So the expedition was absolutely fantastic, and I was hooked. A year later, I graduated from school, and my graduation present was a climb to Mt Elbrus, which is the highest mountain in Europe. Shortly after, I went to university in the US, and for the 4 years there, I enjoyed myself, doing a whole bunch of adventure sports. And right before I graduated, I remember my father came to visit me, and we were talking about all of our climbs and all of our expeditions together. And we started talking about one that had been in the back of both of our minds for very long, Mt Everest. And I don't even remember who brought it up, but suddenly, this casual talk became something serious. And before long, after graduating from university, I came right back to India, and we started training for what was going to be one of the most physically and mentally challenging expeditions that both of us had ever been on. So this is actually the north face of Mount Everest, and there are two sides which you can climb Everest from. There's the north side and the south side. The south side is the more common route. It's where Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Sherpa both climbed from way back in 1953. The route that we were going to be attempting is the north side. The north side is considered to be more challenging, it's colder, but it's also technically a little bit safer because you don't have to cross the Khumbu icefall. So we did 4 training expeditions before we went on this big climb. The first one was to Ladakh. It was a mountain called Aconcagua 2. The second expedition was to Nepal, where we did a high altitude climb and we saw this beautiful lake called Bokyodi. We also met our Sherpas during this climb and tested out a lot of the equipment we'd be using on our eventual expedition. The third expedition we did was to France, where we did a lot of technical climbing. And then the fourth and final one was to Ladakh again, where we had the chance to see the beautiful snow leopard. And that was, of course, a very, very exciting experience in itself. And of course, for the time that we were in Delhi and not off on these expeditions, we'd be training for 4 to 5 hours every day. So a whole lot of training and thinking and planning and organizing later, we finally made it to base camp. And before you actually go further, before you go beyond base camp, you have a big prayer ceremony that occurs, at base camp with all the Sherpas. And at this point, I'd like to say, a lot of people talk about conquering mountains or conquering Mother Nature. They say now that you've climbed Everest, you've conquered it. And honestly, when you go to base camp and you look at this beautiful mountain up in front of you, you feel so small and so insignificant. You realize that there's absolutely no such thing. In fact, you're very fortunate if you're able to go up to these places and actually make it to the top. It's because the mountain lets you climb. This is what the route up to Everest looks like. So the entire expedition takes 6 weeks to 2 months, and that's because a lot of the time that you're climbing up, you actually have to spend acclimatizing. So you spend about a week at base camp, and then you climb up a little further, spend a week at advanced base camp, you climb a little further, and then finally you actually only go up to camp 1, you come all the way back down, and then just spend time at base camp till there's a clear weather window, till you can climb all the way up to the summit. This is because the oxygen levels at the summit are so low that if you were to just go up there directly, say you found a magical helicopter that would take you to the summit of Everest, you would die within 3.5 minutes. So this acclimatization process is very, very vital for the climbing process. So this is what the climb up looks like. This is intermediate camp. And then beyond that, till about advanced base camp, you can actually take yaks, which carry a lot of your equipment, but then everything beyond, you have to carry yourself. This is what advanced base camp looks like. And everything beyond advanced base camp, the climbing gets pretty serious. That's because there's a big wall of snow and ice that you now have to traverse to get up beyond. And now you're completely roped up. So throughout any point further than advanced base camp, you're now completely on ropes because, again, if you fall, it's a long way down. Even to pee, in fact. So every single step, every single thing that you do on the mountain now, you have to think about. You have to sort of plan. You can't just step outside your tent without any protection because you can injure yourself pretty badly. And we made our way up. So, after we did our acclimatization round, we waited for 2 weeks, and then we were finally given a clear weather window where we could start our ascent of the mountain. So after advanced base camp, we went up to camp 1. We then moved on to camp 2. On our way to camp 2, we faced a horrible storm. It was one of the most scary things I've ever encountered. Again, you're attached to the mountain by a rope, but the wind speeds are so high, it feels like you're just going to be blown off the face of the earth. And again, it's at times like this where it gets so cold, your hands are freezing, your legs are freezing, you're questioning everything that you're doing. You're like, why am I doing this to myself voluntarily? But it's at times like this you realize how important it is to be positive. Because stopping at that point is not an option. If you stop, you're not only putting yourself in danger, because you're not moving anymore, you're not generating heat, and so your body won't be able to keep warm, and you'll immediately get very, very cold. So chances are you can get frostbite or hypothermia. So not only are you putting yourself in danger, but you're putting your entire team in danger. So stopping at this point is not an option, and that's what makes climbing in conditions like that all the more scary. There's nothing that can come rescue you in conditions like this. No helicopter would be able to land that high. No, people are all, on their last, using their last bits of energy to just be up there. So rescue chances, even with fellow climbers, are very, very low. So you have to be very, very attentive, you have to be very, very focused, and you have to be extremely positive. Because the minute you start thinking negative, that's when you've lost the summit. So we did make it past that storm that day, and we finally made it to Camp 3, where we spent about 6 hours. So we climbed, from Camp 2 to Camp 3. It was a 6-hour climb, and then we spent 6 hours there from 2 p.m. in the afternoon to 8 p.m. in the evening, where we just rested, tried to sleep. Honestly, at that height, it's 8,300 meters. It's the death zone. You can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't do anything. Your body is slowly, stopping its normal functions, and so it doesn't feel really great, to be honest. But you have to fight past that, and you have to force yourself to drink, to eat, so that you have energy for that final summit attempt, which is going to push you beyond anything. So, we did that evening spend about, 2-3 hours just checking everything, making sure we had everything for the summit attempt. And then about 8 p.m. at night, we finally started for the summit. And climbing at night is an incredible experience. It's very cool because you can't really see anything but the path ahead of you. So you have your flashlight and you just see the path ahead of you and you're focusing on that, you're focusing on getting just one step ahead of the other. It's a little scary because you don't know what's on either side, but it helps you keep your focus. The reason why you climb at night is because conditions on the mountain are more stable at night than in the morning. So you sort of want to be off the higher parts of the mountain before the afternoon. And we climbed through the night, and it was still dark actually. We had made it past these 3 really tough steps. So it's the first step, the second step, and the third step. And there are these vertical walls of rock, snow, and ice. And these are the most frightening parts of the mountain. These are the parts that you read about and that you're really, really stressed about, before the climb. And we made it past it, and everything was going great. I was climbing with my dad. We both were climbing together. He was right. I think he was a couple of steps in front of me. When all of a sudden he stopped and he turned back towards me and he said, "Deeya, listen, I can't breathe." And that was one of the most scary moments I've ever had in my entire life. I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, we both realized basically what had happened was his oxygen mask had stopped functioning. It had basically frozen over and there was no oxygen supply coming towards him. And it can almost feel like you're slowly suffocating. So he had slowly been feeling a little low, and he had thought it was just, because of the altitude and because we're on Everest, not realizing that it was his oxygen mask that was malfunctioning. So he turned to me, and when he said this, we had a very difficult decision to make. Because of the low temperatures, and because I had lost a lot of weight on the climb, during the 4 weeks that we'd been on the mountain before, I was getting cold very, very fast. If I would stop for longer than 2 minutes, I would start shivering uncontrollably, and chances were that if I stopped and waited with him, I could get hypothermia or frostbite. And so we had to make a decision whether I would keep climbing on or I would turn back, but I couldn't wait with him at that point. And my dad said, "This isn't a question, Deeya, you have to keep climbing, don't worry, I'll catch up with you." And so with a heavy heart, I kept walking forward. I remember I kept turning back, hoping to see Dad, but it was too dark, you could barely see anything at that point. It was about 4 in the morning, 4:15 a.m. actually to be exact, when I reached the summit, and it was still dark. And I remember I was sitting a little bit below. The winds had all died down, and now it was relatively warm. It was a nice warm -10°C. And I was sitting there, and just with my headlamp, trained towards the incoming climbers that were coming up, hoping to catch a glimpse of Dad. We both were wearing matching orange helmets, so I was looking out for that. And it was almost as if it was a Bollywood movie, or some director from Bollywood had come and said action, because just as then the sun started to rise above the horizon, I saw my dad slowly walking towards me, and we both had an incredible moment at the summit of Mount Everest where we both hugged each other, we were crying, we were so happy. I mean, it was an absolutely fantastic experience. The euphoria lasts for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then you realize, okay, we've gotten up, but now we've got to get back down. And the coming down part is a lot more scary, because all of a sudden, you can see everything. So all those parts that you climbed, those narrow little ways that you climbed in the dark at night, you can all of a sudden see how far the fall is, and it's very far, to put it lightly. So since the Everest climb, we've been on a whole bunch of expeditions together. We're actually on this journey to complete the 7 summits, which is the highest mountain in each continent. And this journey to go to the 7 summits has taken us to some of the most incredible parts of our planet. This year, we celebrated the New Year at the summit of Mount Vinson in Antarctica. This actually is a picture of things that can go wrong on expeditions too. I think we were very, very fortunate to have come back in one piece, safe and sound, with no major injuries. But unfortunately, that isn't the case for a lot of climbers. And so whenever we climb, we do feel very, very fortunate to come back safe for most expeditions. But you know, going on all of these expeditions is fantastic. You know, there are some scary realities associated with them, but more often than not, they're these fantastic experiences. And what makes it absolutely incredible is always, you know, carrying our Indian flag up to the summit with us and unfurling it. I know for a fact it's one of the most exhilarating feelings to unfurl our national flag at the summit of a mountain or at the end of the expedition. And you know, I truly believe that this is where our country belongs. It belongs at the summit of every mountain. But I think there's one way we can reach even higher than any mountain. In India, I think us women, we're capable of a lot. I don't think there's anything that we girls, if we put our mind to, we can't achieve. But if our country supports us and cherishes us and, you know, encourages us to follow our dreams and helps us pursue them, I think we can reach heights beyond mountains.